So guys, my name is Arghati Borat and today I will be solving the maths questions of 21 to 35 of the West Bengal Joint paper that came today. We are bringing the question paper to you as soon as possible. Hope you all performed well and let's get on with it. In the first question we see, let T and U be the set of orthogonal matrices and singular matrices of order 3 over R respectively, R being the real number set. Let A is equal to -1, 0, 1. Then there exists bijective mapping between A and TU and all other combinations. Now since we see that A has finite number of elements and both T and U have infinite number of elements, therefore a one-to-one correspondence is impossible. Therefore if the function mapping is not one-to-one, it cannot be bijective, hence B is the correct answer. Moving on to the next question. If an greater than 0 be the nth term of GP, then this determinant is equal to. Now this is a very simple question. Now if an is a part of a GP, then an plus k is equal to, let me change this real quick, is equal to an times r to the power k, where r is the common ratio. Now moving on to log, when we take logarithm, therefore we can say that log of a of n plus k is equal to log of a n nth term, that is, plus k times log of r, which will be a constant since r is constant and k will be varying. Now from this we can say that the determinant is, if we term log of a n to be, let's say, log of a n to be, let's say, capital T, then we can write this determinant as delta is equal to determinant of t plus r, t plus 2r, t plus 3r, t plus 4r, t plus 5r, t plus 6r, t plus 7r, and t plus 8r. Now if we subtract row 2 from row 3 and row 1 from row 2, we get delta is equal to delta t plus r, t plus 2r, this will be 3r, 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 this will be 3r, 3r, 3r. So we see two rows are same, therefore determinant is equal to 0. D is the answer. Moving on to the next question. The mean and variance of a binomial distribution are 4 and 2 respectively, then the probability of exactly 2 successes is. So as we know, for a binomial distribution, mean is equal to NP, which is given as 4. Also we know that the variance sigma square, sigma being the standard deviation, is equal to 2. Therefore is equal to 2, which is given by the formula NPQ, where Q is equal to 1 minus P, P being the probability of a success. Therefore from this, dividing sigma square divided by mu is equal to Q is equal to, as we get, half. Now getting Q is equal to half is really easy, because that means P is equal to Q is equal to half. Now moving on, it asks us what is the probability of exact 2 successes. Now as per the binomial theorem, we know that the probability of 2 successes is n. So here we find n is equal to mu by p, which is 8. Therefore n which is 8, c, number of successes 2. Now this would be p to the power 2, q to the power 8 minus 2, that is 6. But since both p and q are same, this becomes 1 by 2 to the power 8. Now solving this, we can then see this will be 8 times 7 divided by 2 into 1 by 2 to the power 8, cutting this 4, cutting this, we get 2 to the power 6. So this turns out to be 7 by 64. So the correct answer is option A. Next, going on to the next question. Let Sn is equal to cot inverse 2 plus cot inverse 8 plus cot inverse 18 plus cot inverse 32 and so on and so forth. So we can see that this series is actually a summation, summation I is equal to 1 to n cot inverse of 2i square. Now we can write that as summation of the same limit, summation over I, tan inverse. Now we see tan inverse, it will be 1 by 2i square. Now how can we write 1 by 2i square? We can write it as 2i, hold on a second, we can write it as 2i plus 1 minus 2i minus 1 divided by 1 plus 2i plus 1 times 2i minus 1. So rewriting this as this formula, we can see that this becomes tan inverse this thing, which in terms, by breaking the tan inverse formula, we can see this is equal to summation of tan inverse 2i plus 1 minus tan inverse 2i minus 1. So for starting from I equal to 1 to from going till infinity, we can write this as this would be 1, sorry. So yeah, this comes out to be for I is equal to 1, this is tan 3 minus tan inverse 1, tan inverse 3 minus tan inverse 1 plus tan inverse 5 minus tan inverse 3. So you see, apart from tan inverse 1, all alternate terms will go on cutting out until we get plus tan inverse infinity at the end, because this is limit tends to. So limit tends to infinity, tan inverse theta becomes pi by 2 and tan inverse 1 is pi by 4. So the answer is pi by 2 minus pi by 4, which is pi by 4. So answer is option B. Now moving on to the next question, we see 4 person A, B, C, D throw an unbiased die turn by turn in succession till one gets an even number. So for a fair die, what is the probability of having an even number? It is half, because there are 6 numbers of which 3 are even. What is the probability that A wins the game if A begins? Now if A begins, either he wins straight away, that is probability half. Otherwise he loses the first one, then the other 3 people also lose their turn, and then he wins in the next turn. So that means this series actually becomes half into 1 plus 1 by 2 to the power 4 plus 1 by 2 to the power 8 dot dot dot. Seems familiar? It's actually a geometric progression where the common ratio is actually 1 by 16. So putting it into the formula of the infinite sum, we can say S is equal to A by 1 minus R, where A is equal to half, R is equal to 1 by 16. So that gives us S is equal to half divided by 1 minus 1 by 16, which is equal to half times 16 by 15, which gives us 8 by 15. That is D is the answer. Going on to the next question. A be a fixed point 0, 4, B be a moving point on x-axis. Let M be the midpoint of AB. Let the perpendicular bisector of AB meet y-axis at R. The locus of midpoint of P, midpoint P of MR is. Now this is quite a complicated question. If you think about it, it is also simple. So what can we write this as? We can write this as, so first let's draw the graph. Now here the first thing is the fixed point A is here 0, 4. This is A. Now let B be somewhere here. B, let's say T, 0, because it is on x-axis. Now what will be this line? Its slope is minus 4 by T, because it reduces by value 4 by the time it B increases, x increases by T. So M is this. Now for a perpendicular bisector, the slope will be M bar is equal to minus 1 by M, which turns out to be T by 4. Now we can say that the new line would be Y is equal to M bar X plus C, but we need this point, so this is the midpoint M. Now M is given by half of the x coordinate, sum of x coordinate, which is T by 2, and half of sum of y coordinate, which is 2. Now if we put that into this equation, we see we get 2 is equal to T square by 8 plus C, which gives us C is equal to 2 minus T square by 8. Now in this equation, C is the y-intercept. C is the y-intercept, and so we can say that here it is as the locus of the midpoint M R, where R is the y-intercept. So we can say R is at the point 0, 2 minus T square by 8. Now the midpoint, we know M is T by 2, 2. Now again we add the x coordinates, divide by 2. So the midpoint, which is given by, let me see, the midpoint is given as P. So the so the point P will be T by 4, 2 minus T square by 16. Now it becomes really simple. X is equal to T by 4. Therefore T square by 16 is equal to x square. You don't have to cross multiply because it is 16 already given here. So y is equal to 2 minus x square. Therefore x square plus y is equal to 2. So here that would be option A. Going on to the next question. A moving line intersects line x plus y and x minus y is equal to 0 at points A and B respectively, such that area of triangle with vertices has constant area C. The locus of midpoint of AB is given by. Now this is really a very simple question, because as we know, the chord of a hyperbola always tangent of a hyperbola always keeps, the tangent of a hyperbola always has constant area. Therefore we know that the formula of this will be a hyperbola. From this we can find this out to be B. So this is just you can if you want in the exam you can calculate the whole thing using locus, but that would be extremely time consuming. Going on to the next question. A greater than 0, B greater than 0, maximum area of parallelogram whose 3 vertices at 0 0, A cos theta, B sin theta, A cos theta minus B sin theta. Now if we take the let's draw the coordinate axis. So if we take, let the cos theta be very large, that is close to 1, and sin theta be close to 0. So if we take the values, this is one point which is O, this is O, this is point A suppose, this is point B suppose, then we can complete the parallelogram by this. Now as we know that here this is, since this is separated, we can say this area is equals to this area. Therefore the area of the parallelogram OACB is equals to 2 times OAB. Now solving for OAB, we know that the area of triangle in terms of the coordinates of the vertices can be easily written as half into determinant of x1, x2, x3, y1, y2, y3, 1, 1, 1. Now since there will be a 2 times, I will cut the 2. Therefore delta comes out to be the determinant of x1, y1 are both 0, x2, y2 are given as A cos theta, B sin theta. I will write capital C for cos theta and capital S for sin theta. Now this is again the next one is A cos theta minus B sin theta. So this is A cos theta minus B sin theta 1. So this determinant turns out to be, since these are 0, only 1 times this determinant has to be taken. So that is basically 1 times minus 1 times, this will be ABS plus AB SC plus AB SC, that is sin theta into cos theta. Now this can be written as minus, since the area is always positive, so we can write this as positive 2AB sin theta cos theta. Now what do we know? 2 sin theta cos theta is equals to sin 2 theta, so we can write this as AB sin 2 theta. Now what is the maximum value of sin 2 theta? That is 1 when 2 theta is pi by 2, which is pi by 2, and theta is equal to pi by 4. Therefore at theta is equal to pi by 4, the maximum value is AB. Therefore we can say option A is the correct answer. Now going to the next question. A ray of light along x plus root 3y is equal to root 3 gets reflected upon reaching x axis. The equation of the reflected ray is. This is a very easy question. If we draw the coordinate axis again, so here let's say the given equation of the line is like this, because the slope is negative and as we see the constant is positive. So here, so the point of intersection when y is equal to 0 implies x is equal to root 3. So the x intercept is root 3. Now x is equal to 0 implies y is equal to 1. Now what happens is we are seeing that here it is getting reflected across the x axis. Now if it got reflected on the y axis, the x value, x coordinate, x intercept would be interchanged in terms of sign. Now when it gets reflected on the x axis, it basically means that the y intercept becomes the negative of its original value. So y dash is equal to minus 1. So basically from the intercept we know that x by a plus y by b is equal to 1, where a is root 3. So x by root 3 minus y by 1 is equal to 1. Therefore y is equal root 3y is equal to x minus root 3. So that is option B. Now going on to the next question. Two tangents of circle x square plus y square plus 4. So let's draw the coordinate axis, because why not, always draw this or draw these graphs in exam hall, because they dramatically increase your chances of doing the problem correctly, and also dramatically increases the chance of mistakes if you draw them incorrectly. So always be careful about those. So if we take the two tangents, it says the two tangents, let me erase this two, yeah. So these meet at -4. So we know that this length is 4 units, and we know that the radius is 2, since it is given the equation is x square plus y square is equal to 4. So this is a radius square, which is equal to 2 square, therefore radius is 2. So we know we have to find the area of this parallelogram O. Now this is O, this is M, B. Now the total area of the triangle is equal to total area of the total area is 2 times the area of the two right angle triangles. Therefore 2 times half into perpendicular, that is 2 times this hypotenuse. Now the what will be the hypotenuse? Root over of hypotenuse square, that is 4 square minus 2 square is equal to root over 12 is equal to 2 root 3. So this turns out to be 2 root 3. Cutting 2 for 2, we get delta is equal to 4 root 3. Now 4 root 3 is the answer. Going on to the next question, we have a final stretch of the last 5 questions. We see from a point D, 0, 3 normals are drawn to parabola y is equal to x. Then D is what? Now for this, you have to remember one equation, that is for any point, not only on any axis, any point for the parabola y is equal to 4, y square is equal to 4ax, the locus of the points that from which 3 normals can be drawn on the parabola is given by 27ay square is equal to 2x minus 2a whole cube. So it basically comes from the solution of the cubic equation of the slopes, which gives us the 3 normals. So from this we can see here given y is already given to be 0, therefore if we cut this out, therefore we can just simply say x is equal to 2a. Now here a obviously is 1 by 4, therefore x is d by 4, therefore x is d by 2. Now the answer is d by 2. Moving on to the next question. The locus of vertices of families of parabola 6y is equal to 2a cube x square plus 3a square x minus 12y is. Now this is actually just a shifted parabola whose vertex is shifted. This is not at an angle, which makes it incredibly easy. So we can rewrite this as 6y is equal to, now we have to take this part and rewrite this as a square, whole square. So we can say 2a cube is equal to root over 2a cube whole square. So we say root over 2a cube times x whole square plus 2 times 2ab, so we write 2 times root over 2a cube x times. Now what would be the next term? For the next term, since there is no root 2 here, we have to cut out root 2, 1 by root 2. Since there is no 2 there, we have to say 1 by 2. Since there is a 3, we have to say times 3. Then again the power of a is a square, and here the power is 3 by 2 because it is in square root. So this multiplied by root over a. So this term turns out to be 3a 3 root a by 2 root 2. Now we have to write plus b square. So plus b square would be 9a by 8 minus 9a by 8 minus we have 12a. So in this case we see that 6y plus 12 plus 9 by 8 is equal to 8 times 12, which is 80 plus 16, that is 96 plus 9 by 8, which is 105 by 8. So 6y plus 105a by 8 is equal to root over 2a cube times x minus plus 3 root a by 2 root 2 whole square. Now from this we can see for the vertex y, we can say that y is equal to minus 105a by 8 times 6, whereas so we can say this implies that a is equal to 48 by 105 y times minus 1 obviously, and from this we can say that x is equal to minus 3 root a divided by 2 root 2 times a root 2 root a. So root a cuts out, root 2 gives us another 2, so that is minus 3 by 4a. Now we can replace the value of a from this equation. Putting this, we see x is equal to 3 by 4 times 48y, 3 times 105. Now we can cut out 3 for 48, getting 1 and remaining 18, 16. So this gives us, therefore x is equal to 105 by 16 times 4 gives us 40 plus 24, that is 64. Therefore 64y, therefore xy is equal to 105 by 64. Now so 105 by 64, A is the answer. Moving on to the next question. The coordinate of a point on the auxiliary circle of eclipse x square plus 2y square is equal to 4 corresponding to a point on eclipse whose eccentric angle is 60 degree will be. Now this is a very simple question. Depending on formula, the point on the auxiliary circle given Q has a formula of a cos phi, a sin phi, where a is the longer diameter, and usually here since the x is x part is longer, so that will be, here we can write this as x squared by 2 square plus y squared by root over 2 square is equal to 1. Therefore here a is equal to 2, and here the eccentric angle phi is given as 60 degree. Therefore easily we can see that Q is 2 times half and 2 times root 3 by 2, that is 1 comma root 3. This one you can also directly find out the auxiliary circle and put the points, but that is generally a better option. But here, since the values are very simple, this method turns out to be smaller and faster. Locus of the center of a variable circle which always touches two given circles externally is. So these type of equations, you can either take two circles and then take another imaginary circle like this, such as wait a second, you can also calculate them such as two circles, be these two. This has radius r1, this has radius r2, and another bigger circle has radius r, and this is also r. So let's say this is at 0 comma minus 1, this is at 0 comma plus 1, this is x comma y, and you can find the locus and all, and find the find the locus and find out if it's a formula of an eclipse, hyperbola, parabola, or a circle. But usually what you do is you remember these answers, or otherwise you can in the examination hall you can just remember how to calculate. So so sorry, this will not be the answer. So so for in this case you can see, let's these two be the circle. Now here it can touch one of the circle, this can be a center which is directly between them. Now as we go to larger circles, this straight line is always an option, right? But let's say that one circle is bigger. Here we took two circles are of same size, which will not always be the case, which is important, because if you don't draw with different variables, if you I don't know, maybe draw points which are not necessarily given to be at the same coordinate or of the same size, then you might arrive at the wrong conclusion. So this will be, here this point is obviously a point of center. Now as we go on for bigger circles, what happens is this goes on to be like this. Now as we go bigger, this will go to infinity. Why can't this go towards this? Because if the center is here, then it can either touch this side or this side or this side. It cannot touch all three, all two of those circles simultaneously. Therefore the answer will be a hyperbola. Now on to the last question, a line with positive direction cosines. So if we take the vector v, we solve this with the help of vector. We know that whatever be the coefficient c1 of I cap plus c2 of j cap plus c3 times k cap, we know that c1, c2, c3 all are positive, passes through this point. So we can say that we can say any point lying on that line is q is equal to p plus lambda times v, where lambda is an arbitrary constant, p is the position vector. Now equal angle with coordinate axis, this is very important. So if this was not equal angle with coordinate axis, if this was different angles, so you would have to take this angle with every I cap, j cap and k cap, which considers you dot it with I cap. So it turns out to be v dot I is equal to c1. So you write that c1 divided by root over c1 square plus c2 square plus c3 square. This is one direction cosine. In this way you find the other two direction cosine, and then using these three equations you find out c1, c2, c3. Now in this case, luckily all of the three angles are equal, so we can just simply say c1 equal to c2 equal to c3, and make the vector to be I cap plus j cap plus k cap. Now I know this is not a unit vector, but for the sake of competitive exams we will not reduce this to unit vector, but we will remember that the mod of the vector is root over 3, not 1. So here it is given the line meets the plane this at point Q. So since the point Q lies on this plane, and we can say Q is equal to P plus lambda V. So Q is equivalent to, so P point was 2, so 2 plus lambda into 1, comma, minus 1 plus lambda into 1, comma, 2 plus lambda into 1. Now from this we can say that this Q satisfies this plane. Therefore putting the values in that plane, we can see 2 into 2 plus lambda minus 1 plus 2 plus lambda plus 2 lambda plus lambda minus 1 plus 2 plus lambda is equal to 9. Solving this we get lambda is equal to 1. Therefore the additional vector that has to be added is I plus j plus k times 1. Now remember this is not a unit vector, so the length is root 3 times lambda, so that will be root 3 units. So that's it guys. That's it for today. Please like and share the video. Please subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it, and we'll meet in the next video.